Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today I'm going to be talking about should Campaign 4 have lower stakes than the campaigns that came before it. So that's about it. I just want to say spoilers before we get into the video, because I'm going to talk about campaigns 1, 2, and 3 a little bit, and I'm going to be talking about the EXU stuff. So I recommend not watching it if you're not caught up with most of those. If you are, you're good, but otherwise, spoilers. Over the last 10 years of Critical Role, we've had 3 main campaigns and 5 EXU miniseries, and almost all of these have had very high stakes involved in their stories. Campaign 1 saw a powerful lich in Vecna become a god and threaten the entire world of Exandria, in which the heroes needed to borrow power from the gods themselves to seal him away. In addition to that, they also had the Chroma Conclave, a group of dragons coming together to, well, basically destroy the world and take over a lot of cities. They almost did it. They were very close. Campaign 2 had Lucian take over a powerful entity in the Astral Sea, the Somnovum, and was stopped by the Mighty Nine before he could travel back to the material plane and cause massive mayhem with it. Also, in Campaign 2, the Mighty Nine stopped a war between the Dwendalian Empire and Xhorhas before it could really get started, which could also be seen as very high stakes. Campaign 3 saw Ludens Deleth, the leader of the Cerberus Assembly, try to rid the world of the gods by using the power of an ancient alien that the gods feared so much that they actually sealed it away, creating the Moon of Ruidus. In the end, the gods chose to take their mortal forms again, so they weren't targets of this alien, as there was no stopping it forever, changing the world of Exandria. And 3 of the EXU miniseries, the EXU trilogy, or the Brennan Lee Mulligan trilogy, showed the beginning, middle, and end of the calamity and the horrors that were held within. You know, one of the most high-stakes time periods of the entirety of the history of Exandria. All of these stories had extremely high stakes to them. The point I'm trying to make here is that over the last 10 years of Critical Role, we've had some incredibly high stakes story. Each time the stakes need to go higher and higher, so it feels like a new threat that's actually real to the world. However, I truly don't think this need to keep rising the threat is there, and I truly think that this doesn't need to be the case for Campaign 4. The end of Campaign 3 saw the beginning of a new era, one where the gods walk amongst the people of Exandria. Of course, this could create power vacuums between powerful beings across the planes of each world, but it's also time for exploration and discovery, especially as we've now got a whole new crop of races for the players to sort of choose and play as, the ones coming from Ruidus that have now moved down to Exandria. Aurora is largely unexplored, both as a region in general and on stream, so it would be really fun for us to see, as we've mostly just seen Vasselheim. We have seen a few other areas, but not for very long. The Shattered Teeth is much the same, as we've only seen maybe 4 islands during the events of Campaign 3. Aor is just sitting there, waiting for us to see more of it, as we only saw a few locations and wards, and most of them were shared between Campaign 2 and 3, which is very upsetting to me. I would have liked to have seen more. I think we literally only got one more new ward coming from Campaign 3, which is very upsetting. There's also an entire underwater world that a lot of people would like to see. This is the one that I've seen a lot of people with growing interest, so I feel like a lot of people would really like to push Critical Role in that direction. These places in the world of Exandria don't need to have some sort of world-ending excuse for us to see them and explore them. In fact, I'd actually argue that if some of these world-ending threats were to be taking place, these locations that I've mentioned before would largely be a waste of time to explore. I don't think there's going to be too much in the way of answers outside of the ones that we got in the Shattered Teeth, right? We already got a lot of answers for it with the elemental shards. And then in Aurora, there could be something, maybe something hidden away for the gods to have some sort of superpower, but you wouldn't want to explore all of Aurora. You wouldn't want to explore all of the Shattered Teeth. You would just want to go to the places that you know will have something important for you. So I would argue that if there were high-end stakes in Campaign 4, these locations wouldn't be all that useful to us. We'd rather be on, Taldore, Wildmount, Marquette, places like that, or even just in Vasselheim again, because those are the places where a lot of people are going to be, a lot of allies, a lot of powerful individuals. So to avoid the same stuff that we literally just saw, lower stakes might be needed. I truly believe that Campaign 4 has been set up as a potential campaign of exploration and adventure. Lower stakes for the world would also lead to a campaign that could be more character focused. After an arc of exploration, we could get an arc dedicated to some backstories for some of the characters, much like in Campaign 2, where we get a lot more focus on their personal problems, something I feel was vastly missing in Campaign 3. In general, lower stakes to a campaign will feel fresh, especially after a continuous story in Campaign 3. I truly do believe that Campaign 4 would benefit from this sort of low to mid, stakes gameplay. Campaign 2 is a perfect example of this, where it constantly fluctuated between high stress, low stress, high stakes, low stakes, mid stakes. It constantly went up and down through that, right? We got personal stakes, which are high stakes for the players, but for the world overall, it's low stakes. And I feel like that is the perfect balance for a campaign after one that we've seen just extreme tension the entire time, right? Campaign 3 was just red line for the entire time. You're just putting the pedal all the way down to the fucking floor, and you're hammering down on the highway. That is what Campaign 3 was the entire time. From beginning to end, one long continuous story, and it just kept going harder and harder as time went on. It was higher stakes the whole time, whether it was stopping, people from becoming allies, whether it was, the potential risk of the God Eater being released at any point in time. There was just constant risk moving forward permanently, to the point where we needed to get 2 other previous campaigns to show up and help out during the final fight, which truly does go to show the high stakes of the entire thing. So to follow the Campaign 2, way of going about things, we would get much more attached to a lot of the players and a lot of the characters. I feel like a lot of people said that they just didn't care for the Bell's House because a lot of their stuff was sort of glossed over, right? I would just, put a couple names forward of characters who didn't get all that much shine dedicated to them. Unfortunately, Breas didn't get too much. He did get some good moments, but I would have really liked to have taken the time to truly explore that character a lot more. Chetney, in my opinion, got fucking shafted. He got a couple episodes dedicated to him. He got one Gorgine episode dedicated to him. He got a handful of episodes dedicated to him when they were in Uthadurn, and that was about it. Realistically, there was one more moment later on where he learned about the Sea Poppers, but that didn't last an entire episode. That was only half an episode. So Chetney only getting 3.5 episodes dedicated to him out of 121 episodes is kind of insane, especially when characters like Fern, Laudna, Imogen, Orem, they all got tons of episodes dedicated to them. Ashton's in the same boat of not getting all that much dedicated to them. FCG was going to get a lot more, but unfortunately, everybody knows what happened there. So I feel like if we were to give more arc-focused stories to the player characters, a lot more people would get attached to them, which I think is something that is very necessary if we're going to do another 3-year campaign, for people to really love the characters. I love the Bell's Hells, I love the story that was told, but not everyone does. But I feel like the Mighty Nine is almost universally beloved by people. So if you were to follow that story structure, as opposed to Campaign 1 and Campaign 3, where it was high stakes the entire time, I think we're going to find another group of characters like the Mighty Nine who we all unanimously love. So I'm curious to know what you think. Do you think Campaign 4 is going to be high stakes? Do you think it's going to be low stakes? I can see it being either personally, because, low stakes would give us a very good perspective of what this new world is like. For us to truly be able to walk through the cities as individuals following stories of the people in this world would be a very smart thing for them to do. So we can get a very grounded understanding of what the new Exandria is like. Through the eyes of the players, through the PCs and their personal backstories and their personal issues. But on the other end of that, to begin and fire off this new era, having some sort of explosive story where one of the gods, wants to take over the world in his new mortal form and they have to kill him, could also be something they would want to do to sort of start off this new era, which I think would be rather interesting as well. So I'm curious to know what you think. Do you think they're going to do low stakes? Do you think they're going to do high stakes? Or do you think they're going to try to be somewhere in the middle and sort of go jigsaw back and forth between them? I'm curious to know what you think. So with that all being said, I will see you guys on Friday for whatever video I make next. Peace.